Welcome to Spiritual Tough Love. It's not your light and fluffy spiritual podcast. We only speak the truth in a direct and honest manner. We will not sugarcoat anything, maybe soften the blow of the bad news, but this show is only for folks that can handle the truth and are ready to do the work to live a successful life. Here's your host, Angelique Luna, and here is my co-host, African Crystal Goddess. How are you?
Hello, how are you? Good morning.
Happy Saturday, happy Pride Month, happy God knows
That's
what else.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. There was donut day yesterday, so
Oh, yes. Did you participate? Because I didn't.
I I got a cup of coffee and they said, "Do you would you like a donut?" And I was like, "Oh, okay. I'll take a cake donut. Congratulations to me." It's like whatever.
Well,
But
mhm.
yeah, I don't know what else this month holds. I know it's Pride Month, that's exciting. It's lots of activity. I know that much.
Yes, I will be participating in that activity later today, so you can follow me on my podcast, my Facebook Live feed there. So, gay
Yep.
days in Orlando is always fun.
Oh yeah, I think I took my kids when they were little. I think we went to an event and they were like, "Wow, this is crazy." I'm like, "Yeah, they're having fun."
There's nothing wrong with them wearing red shirts. It's a fun time.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but Donut Day, we should have taken advantage of the Homer Simpson donut over at Universal Studios. Have you seen that donut?
I have not seen that donut.
Well,
What in the world is that?
well, it is the pink donut from the donut shop from The Simpsons, but it's about the size of a regular size plate, the 8.5 by 11 plate. It's a huge donut.
My God.
You could use it kind of like as a cake if you choose, instead of eating it just by yourself. But most people choose to eat by themselves and not share. Not admitting to anything
Nice.
could and could happen.
Could and could. Yep, yep. I agree. If it's a good donut, you might come up short.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's Simpsons, so yeah. So they have a little cart over at Universal where they do sell donuts and ice cream together for dessert treats.
Ah. Yeah, see yeah. I'm trying to pull off some weight. I'm trying. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's an uphill battle, especially when you're doing like weight training and everything. You're just like, okay, I know I have to eat 3,000 calories, but at the same time, I want to lose 1,000.
Yeah, I need to eat 3,000, but they need to be 3,000 decent ones. And yeah, if I keep throwing in donuts in the mix, they're not decent. So what's been up with your week? What's been up?
Oh, oh well, more non-spiritual crazy, but been teaching a lot more of the healthy sexuality and teaching
I saw
parents
that.
how to talk to their kids about sex. So that's kind of booming there. I know. I've been low key with the spiritual stuff. I know. I need to start packaging and selling and working, actually making a couple of things for the Santa Muerta. Coming up with oils and little spell kits. So
Nice.
yeah, so it's like trying to find the balance of, sex educator and spiritual worker.
Uh, those two go together.
Oh, yes, absolutely there. Yeah, and it was actually kind of interesting because I'm hanging out a lot with the Hispanic community, with Proyecto Somos Orlando. We are Orlando, and they did a mental health presentation. And it's interesting the stigma mental health has in the Hispanic community, and how oftentimes they'll be coming to a spiritual worker or religious figure before they actually see a mental health counsel.
African Americans as well. That's
Oh,
a big deal. That's a big deal to our people to be considered mentally unstable. Like you may know you have a relative. I grew up in the South. When we were little, they called them touched. That person has been
oh,
touched.
mm.
And when I was little, I like touched by what? He's been touched. That's you don't get too close because he gets aggressive. He's been touched. So you kind of downplay it, and then you understand as you grow up that that person isn't mentally stable. We still are very sensitive about mental instability in our community. We're very off put by it. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to address it. I remember being 18, about 18 or 19.
Hmm. I lost you. I lost you. Where are you? Where in the house are you? Yeah, I lost you.
Can you hear me now? I don't know.
Barely. No, no, you're cracking up. Sorry for the technical
Can you hear
difficulties.
me now?
Yeah, barely. It's kind of crackling.
Okay. Oh wow, I can't hear a thing. Can you
Okay.
hear me now?
Crackles. Crackles.
Let me try
Okay,
again.
right there, right there, right there. Oh,
Is that
hello?
better?
Yeah, much better.
How about now?
Yeah. Yay!
Yay, sorry guys.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's okay.
I haven't moved.
Yeah, yeah, Skype's been acting funky because we were interviewing another guest on another podcast and she completely dropped off. She could hear us, but we couldn't hear her. We're like, what? It was a good
Oh
article.
wow.
It was a good conversation, dude. You know, talking about parents with sex. But yeah.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I remember being young and miscarrying, and I remember the lady asking me if I wanted assistance. And I was like, assistance with what? You know, I've miscarried. My children aren't here, so I don't need assistance. And she was like, oh, like medication for depression, anxiety. I'm like, like I said, I had to be 18, 19 years old. I said, lady, I'm black. Like literally, that was my answer. That was literally my answer. Lady, I am black. And she looked at me so funny, like, what did that mean? And I was done with the whole conversation. And as I grew older, and of course I am in the mental health field, I do see that stigma still hanging on for dear life. It's like, okay, look, we don't do that. That's not for us. That's for someone else. Let the people who really need it partake in it. Let the people who have it, but that's not for us. If we I've heard people tell me that children
Hmm.
have demons inside of them, not mental health issues. Like, this kid doesn't have ADHD, no, he doesn't have ADD, he has a demon, and we need to take him to church.
Hmm. And
What?
pray over him, pray. Yeah, I know.
I'm all for praying, but no, that's not what the problem is.
Right, you
Sometimes
know.
it is a mental health issue.
Hmm. Oh yeah, it is because like I've kind of gone into the mental health. So I was spiritual worker, mental health now. But every time it was like beyond my capability, I told them it's like, no, you have to see a professional, and they were like, oh no. I'm like, no, trust me, I will send you to someone that I trust that will help you. Because yeah, in the
Right.
Hispanic community, hell no, it's like no, 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 no. I'm not going to see it. I'm not local. That's always the first thing out of there. It's like, I'm not local. I'm like, oh god, it's not that you're local. You have something like that, and I know from spiritual workers and studying Mexican shamanism, curanderos, that yeah, there is a way to cure mental health, but it's a long ass process compared to just popping some pills. So maybe I'm taking the easy way out by not doing the process, but I'd rather get them help quickly than versus trying to go
I
through a 6 months to a year ordeal.
Well, I'm more of a person that believes that life is a series of building blocks.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean from birth, from before birth to all the way up to birth and till your child is an adult. So for someone to tell me that a child is struggling with whatever it is they struggle with, I start asking questions. If your child is 5 and you're telling me that your child is experiencing something that looks like bipolar disorder,
Mm-hmm.
I start asking questions like, okay, can you tell me about what the pregnancy was like? Or can you tell me what life was like when the child was born? What was life like the first year, the second year? Because I'm trying to find out, is this truly a chemical imbalance that we need to send you out for? Or
Mm-hmm.
is this something that has occurred and this child is acting out because it's a memory there that they can't access, but they know it's a traumatic memory?
Right.
So when a person has a traumatic memory, adults do it. If it's very traumatic, they can't deal with it. Their mind blocks it off. So it's
Mm-hmm.
in this section of your brain that you can't access it. You know it's there, and it's like a piece of sand inside of a pearl. It's an irritation. It's annoying to you. You know it's there. You know something happened, but you can't figure out what the hell it was. That is the problem. And that's why we have like a conversational coaching session where we talk about it and try to
Mm-hmm.
figure out, is this something that occurred prior to? Some people don't realize that their little pumpkin was molested when they were 2 and this person
Mm-hmm.
thought it was okay. I mean, we had people come in and talk about how they molested kids and actually never were prosecuted because
Ah.
they stopped. Like they stopped themselves. So they came in, of course, they had fake names or whatever, but they talked about how they were an ex. That was the name. Matter of fact, that was the name of the class that day. How I became an accidental pedophile, and I was like, an accidental pedophile. I can't with you. I don't know what that means.
Oh wow, that's kind of a new thing. But yeah, also what we I know from studying in my part of the spiritual community that sometimes the trauma is taken down generation to generation.
Yes.
That they made the what do you call it, case study from African slavery. A long
It's like the Holocaust. We
yeah.
know, we've already proven that that is passed down from genetically. We know that. The same applies to African Americans, although people don't like that because that means that they have to face something so ugly and horrid, and nobody wants to face what was really done.
Right.
Nobody wants to talk about that because it was some awful. I've read some horrible things that make me like put a book down for months at a time before I can come back to it.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody wants to talk about that, but this stuff is literally passed down, and you live in a perpetual state, especially for African Americans. We're always hyper vigilant because we're always thinking, oh my God, my kid can't, don't you leave this house with a bunch of other kids that's black because y'all walk down the street together. The police may shoot you or somebody may try to attack you. 2 at a time is all you need in the car.
That's
You know
it.
that.
That you're
So you're
outnumbered right there. Yeah.
yeah, so you're in a constant, perpetual state of post-traumatic stress, and that's how you raise your family. Imagine my great 5 greats back, she's got PTSD untreated, and then she passes it forward, and here we are with PTSD, and we don't even recognize it,
Mm-hmm.
but we live with it. You are living in a perpetual state of fear all the time.
Definitely there. Now, I'm just curious how the Japanese handle it. The Japanese Americans. Remember back in, was it World War I or World War II, that we had the camps for the Japanese? Because I know George
That
Sakai talks about it a lot.
that is just, it floors me to this day that the way that things have occurred and the way that people try to minimize it.
Mm-hmm.
Like people, they struggle. The only difference in struggles is there are people, the pride of the people and the honor for the people, they don't discuss that outside of the family.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times you'll see that the family, they handle a lot of their issues in house,
Oh yes.
whatever that looks like, whatever that, there are ceremonies, there are meditations, they handle that stuff in the home, and a lot of times people are able to self-actualize for themselves and they process what happened to them and then they move forward as best they can.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times it's just self-actualization and hey, this is the best I got, this is all I've got, and they move on.
Right. I wish some of us could do that there, but and also we have the cattiness of love, light, and fight. That is our
Oh
topic
my
of the
goodness.
day. New hashtag. I know. It's like I could have a couple people on my side, but then I have a lot of haters also.
Yeah. I just I I I I'm more of a solitary person.
Hmm.
I deal a lot in just being, my work keeps me busy, and the things I choose to do are often and don't often involve people.
Right.
So when I decided to get online and talk about spirituality or deal in spirituality, period, I figured, oh, hey, look, like minded people off in the distance. That's cool. What if they really are about love and light? Let's listen. And I'm like, oh, they are. That's wonderful. And then I realize as I sit and listen that it's really not. These are some there are a lot of cutthroat people that are, I'm not sure if they are um listening to themselves.
Oh, I don't think so
Um,
either. I mean,
you're preaching love and light, and then in the same breath you're saying
I'm going to cut you
that
down.
I'm gonna hurt you because you're threatening my livelihood, or I think you're threatening my livelihood. Not realizing that there is more than enough of whatever it is going on. What if that person, if someone wants a hex and I don't do that, then they'll go to somebody else who does. Or if they want, something for love, and I do that, and then I say, hey, I do that, but I'm gonna do this part, and then I'm gonna send you to Miss Luna for this because she has good blank. What's wrong with that?
Hmm.
I see much more cutting than I see healing.
Hmm. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just like, excuse me, there is enough for everyone. We should be like other professionals and ethical and refer our business. If we can't handle it, let me send you over to somebody else instead of like degrading what the other person is doing. I
Right.
mean, that's not how lawyers work, medical professionals, especially in the mental health. If they're like, hey, I can't help you, but I'll refer you to somebody else, that's the ethical thing to do. And I think the key word here is ethical. There's not a lot of ethical spiritual workers.
That in itself is an oxymoron to me. How can you not be ethical if you are spiritual? Like that literally is, I'm confuzzled. That's
Oh,
going to be
I'm.
my new word. We're creating new words this week. You saw Kova Fifi. So now you have confuzzled.
Oh my god. Yes, did you have your coffee today?
I had some kofifi.
Coffee.
I kofifi. I'm like,
Oh.
I don't even know, and it's too funny to even try to make it make sense.
But God bless the people who are up at 2 a.m. to screenshot and keep it on. Because, of course, as soon as it became viral, the tweet got taken down.
Of course, of course. So I just I I wonder. Like I said, I see a lot of young people coming into spiritualities that are alternative, considered alternative. When I was
Mm-hmm.
growing up, they were considered natural religions
Mm-hmm.
because they were here before the big three,
Right.
and the big three being Judaism, Catholicism, and Islam.
Mm-hmm.
So we considered them when I was in school natural religions because it was something natural that you gravitated towards over time. It
Mm-hmm.
could have been about trees and the sky or a wolf. It was natural.
Mm-hmm.
So now I see people talking again. I don't think it ever went anywhere. I think now that we have so many people having access to the internet now, that people are just talking about it in larger groups.
Right. And
But
then
the problem I have is that instead of sharing information and sharing wisdom and knowledge that you've acquired over the years, it just seems like you're interested in hoarding. Teachers do not hoard information.
mm-mm. No, we don't. We actually share it. We actually talk about it, encourage. Um, why we decide not to be, friendly about it and say, "Hey, read this book. I found this interesting." Da da da. Whatever. But still, it's. Sometimes I'm lost for words because I follow people. They have great information. They're very intuitive, very intellectual. Even sometimes, sorry, magic can be, spirituality can be scientific because it's like
Right.
there's laws, there's things you have to do this before you do that to do this. But to say afterwards, if you share this information, then I have to kill you. I'm like,
Right.
why?
I don't grasp it. And if I don't, and it's not about practicing. Everybody has their own practice, and
Mm-hmm.
they can practice however they see fit. There is, you do not know. I see a lot of that where people are like, no, that's not how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's not how you do it.
Right.
You do not know, you have no idea who I've been able to communicate with or whoever has been able to communicate with. You have no
Uh-huh.
idea how I was instructed to do it. What
Uh-huh.
you know is how you've been told.
Right.
You know your path. You don't know my path. And my path, I felt like this since I was a child. I didn't ever discuss my path with anybody.
Mm-mm.
That is not up for debate or discussion. I didn't discuss the details. You knew the outer fuzzy coating,
Mm-hmm.
but the details you didn't know because that wasn't for you to know. Now, when I'm told to share it, I share it.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm not told to share, I don't.
Right.
It's personal. That is a personal journey. It is not up to us to demand that someone share their
Right.
journey.
Mm-hmm.
And we see that, and I this that's no knock to when you join a actual group. Now when you talk about joining an actual group and being initiated into a tradition, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a part of a tradition like voodoo, voodoo, uh, um, if you decide that this is the tradition that you want to take up, that's different. They have rules.
Oh
They have
yes.
they have specific things that obligations you have to fulfill, and those obligations have certain days, and there are certain procedures and things that you do that you have to hold true to. Don't get in there and then try to tweak it and make it right for you. No,
Mm-hmm.
that's not how. God doesn't conform to you, you conform.
Mm-hmm.
So don't get in there and then try to make it work and look good for you. Let's not feed uh, the spirits avocados when that ain't what they want. So let's not do that.
Oh, yes, yes. I always love how they change. Well, I'm going to feed them. I know this is what they like on this day, but I feeling that it should be something completely different, and it should be that day. And I'm like, oh my
Right.
God, why do?
And it
It's like you're okay. Here's my interpretation of everything. It is like going up and insulting me, calling me a spick, but at the same time respecting me as a professional. Why?
you heard my deep breath. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, I agree. And I agree. And Papa Lou said it really well. If you love this, if it's something that you love, then respect the tradition about it.
Hmm.
Don't haul off and walk in and say, well, you know what, I am going to initiate into this practice, but once I'm completely initiated and I become a priestess, then guess what, I'm going to change the days because these days are inconvenient for me. I ain't
Right.
feeling it. So I'm gonna switch the days, and then it's too hard for me to find whatever this is. So you're gonna start liking pineapples and mangoes and avocados, and don't do that. It's like respect what has been put in place. If you would respect, even though I'm no longer Christian, I respect Christian doctrine. I may not agree with it, but I respect it. And yes, it is possible to disagree with something and still respect it, because I
Uh-huh.
don't have to practice it and I don't have to speak negatively because you practice it.
Right.
So I am capable of still respecting something. Do I appreciate the Bible? Of course, I grew up with it. I've read it many times and will continue to read it with no problem.
It's a great
Still
spell
love,
book.
still love God, and realize now more than ever that it is one of the most amazing spell books ever put out there. And
Yeah.
anybody who thinks it's not, you need to read again.
Yes, exactly. And it's found in every hotel room possible. And it's also the number one book stolen.
Isn't that a blip?
Yeah.
It's still the number one book stolen.
Yes.
Like they said that back in the 90s. It was like the Bible is the number one book that's thieved from bookstores.
Hmm. Yep.
I'm like, wow.
They
Because
said.
somebody really wants to be saved. They really want help. If you're still in a Bible, you really want help. You really do. We just need to give you that. That needs to be given.
It's like depends on what kind of help are you looking at.
Like I said, I just didn't realize that it was this serious, that, people need to get on Facebook.
Again, I lost you. What the heck? Hello? Yo. As we lost African Crystal Goddess talking about her experience there with Facebook and the Bible.
And
Okay.
do clapbacks and
Okay.
horns and,
Yo. I think we have to go back.
right. It's like, what are you thinking? Like, what makes you, if you say this is who you are, if you
Hmm.
say you're a spiritual person and you want people to know that you represent God's goodness, you represent something good
Hmm.
about the world,
Hmm.
then I'm not saying that if you bother, I'm not saying that if you push me, I won't take it there.
Right.
Because believe me, if you fuck with my family, I'll burn your life to the ground.
Hmm.
But otherwise, I'm very, very pleasant. Like, I can't hold a grudge. It's impossible. Like, I'm mad for all of 10 seconds and then I'm done.
Hmm. It's just wasted
Because,
energy holding a grudge, period.
right, that's how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. I feel like it's a waste of energy. I feel like it's a waste of time. You change you. You change yourself. I'm not going to worry about whether or not you change. It's up to you.
Hmm.
But to put all of this out there in the air, and then you've got people responding and they're very upset and they're all shaken up because some of these people, they know the spiritual practitioners that have been sick or that have passed away, and this person is now claiming, people are claiming that they're the reason for these people passing away. That's very, very ugly.
That's
I mean,
messed up.
I don't even have a word for it. It's ugly. Like, that is too much. You've taken it to a level that it doesn't need to be. Like,
Hmm.
why?
Because
And
they
I'm
have
not going to
nothing better to
vibrate
do.
on your what. Go ahead.
I was gonna say they have nothing better to do, but anyways, what are you gonna be vibrate? What?
Yeah, I'm not going to vibrate on that same wavelength. A young lady was telling me somebody hexed her, and I was like, you got to ask yourself, how are you on the same wavelength as the person who is hexing you? I don't worry about that because I'm not on the same wavelength as this lowbrow individual that's trying it. So whatever you're throwing, it's gonna miss me. That's just the reality. Now, am I saying, and I'm also not gonna go out here and pick fights. I don't want to fight. That's not why I even came in this direction. So
Hmm.
I think that's part of it too, is that look, I ain't interested in fighting with anybody.
No
That I
kidding.
don't understand.
Because that, you gotta have some drama in your life, and you gotta be like the old powerful wizard and have evil villains so people could say, "Oh, you made it. You're something there." Like, oh.
Wow.
Yeah, because I know in the sex education industry, once you get haters, that's where some of us celebrate. It's like, yeah, we finally made it. We have haters.
Oh, wow.
Because that
Yeah,
means we're
no.
making a difference. We're shaking up the whole environment. But at the same time, it's difficult in the spiritual community because this is, again, love and light, supporting each other. But yeah, but sometimes it turns into Fight Club.
Yeah, I don't understand why it would turn into Fight Club. If I'm here to help, then it shouldn't be a Fight Club. It shouldn't be that. Look, I'm not trying to, step on your toes. If this is your arena, then by all means, put your show on. Don't look at me like I'm the enemy. I'm not the enemy. I can assure you, if you got an enemy, it ain't me. But there are people like I said, I'm looking on Facebook and I see all the clapbacks and I'm like, oh my God, what's wrong with y'all?
I know, because you're not practicing what you're preaching, or are you trying to do the wolf in sheep's clothing kind of deal? Because a lot of spiritual workers are like that. And it pisses the shit out of me because it's like there's no reason to. It's like because I'm pretty open and honest. Yes, I don't work with a coven, and I'm just like you. I'm just kind of like, work by myself, or kind of partner with you and go shopping in your herb closet. But other than that,
Yeah.
but it just boggles the mind what they try to do.
And I don't have anything against covens. I don't have anything against witch circles, uh, um, or goddess circles, whatever we're calling ourselves, mystics. I don't have anything against gathering in groups.
Hmm.
What I have an issue with is, why do people feel like they need to, and this is in general, it doesn't matter which religion or spiritual practice you're a part of. It's something I've seen with all of them, from Buddhism all the way to just an isolated spiritual practice.
Hmm.
Uh, it seems to be people just can't. They want to coexist, but they want to coexist and be right. They want their process to be the right process, and nobody else's process is right.
Yeah, it's like it's my way or the highway, and that's it. There's no in betweens. There's nothing else. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Isn't that what the white man did several centuries ago? Let's kill off the Native Americans because they're wrong, even though they've been living here for hundreds of years. Let's import people, but don't treat them as equals. I mean, it's like one thing or another conquest. And you would think 2017, this whole mentality would have, loosened up, but it still thrives in a lot of communities, and the spiritual community, it's like, to me, it's top of the list of nutcases.
And that's really, really sad. Like
Mm-hmm.
to to look at it and say, hey, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to shed light and beauty and bring balance to the world. But when you get into your coven groups on social media, or you pull someone's um, direct messages, and they put it on social media for everyone to see, you are not living the way that you claim.
Mm-mm.
You are picking fights, or you're undermining another practitioner's skills, or another spiritual worker's skills, in an effort to get additional clients.
Right.
So whatever you're doing for your clients is tainted from the beginning, because you are tainted.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Now, am I saying we're pure of spirit? No, hell no. Everybody's got their things going on, but are you this way every day? Every day? Are you working hard to be that best version of yourself? Because that's all that anybody can ask, is that every day you work on it, to to present one way and then treat someone another way, or scare a person away from another spiritual worker for whatever reason. That is that is not practical or smart.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not.
Oh, I know. I know. It's kind of like, okay, so you're doing this. So in reality, are you having the same sentiments to being the best for your client? Or are you sabotaging your client that they have to come back to you every week?
Right.
Because there's been times that I've had people when I've done my readings, and they're like, okay, well, then I'll come back and see you next week. I'm like, no, give it a month, give it a couple of months before you read back. I am not going to read you right away, because you can't tell me in 1 week you're going to fix all the fuck ups I just read in you. There's no way.
There's no way.
And
There's
I
no way.
and I tell them, ethically, I'm an ethically reader. I'm an ethical spiritual worker that come to see me in 3 to 6 months, preferably 6 months, because that gives it plenty of time. Or once a year reading. I don't want to see you in the next month or couple of weeks. I mean, if you have something completely different question, like this question was about, your health, and then next month is about finances, okay, great. I will do that, but at least give me a couple of weeks in between, because I'm not going to see you like so close, in proximity, because what happens if one is affecting the other? And then it's the
Right.
same reading. And I'm like, I don't feel right taking somebody's money, because my readings are not cheap. I mean, it's $50 for a half hour and $85 for an hour. So I
Wow.
value, and that's the low,
And that's and
low.
that's I'm like, wow, because that's reasonable.
Yeah. Because we've seen some other readers that are charging 80 for a half hour and 150 for an hour.
That's what I was about to say. I saw someone the other day said that they were starting at 180.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, nah, man. I know how hard you guys work for your money, but I also work damn hard, because afterwards I have to take a cleansing bath. I have to decompress after I do readings. I
Yep.
mean, sometimes when I do events, I know back to back, I have to sit in the car for 15, 20 minutes before I could even drive myself. But if I have someone who could drive me, even better, because I'm just physically and emotionally drained. It's like, hey, people, when these spirits jump into my body and telling you about your business, it's not fun. It's very draining.
Exactly. It's draining. It's exhausting. Even to walk by someone or read a dream. If someone tells me their dream and they're all concerned, and I'm like, I'm like that, oh, that means that I'm gonna die, and no, that's not what that means. And now I have to tell you what that means, and I have to ask you all these questions, and I'm not the one making this make sense. I'm asking questions so I can have that information free flowing to someone else who's standing there that can hear it and translate it through me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not, I don't, if you ask me off the top what a dream means, and I don't I'm not prepared, or I haven't closed my eyes briefly and said, help me up interpret this dream, then I really am no help.
Mm-hmm. No.
I ask for assistance beforehand, and you may not even notice that I briefly close my eyes, but I do, so that
Mm-hmm.
the right I can get the right information to the right person, so that
Right.
your dream doesn't come off like you're gonna die when you step out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't usually get paid for that. That's usually something that I do in passing when someone asks me, hey, can you, I had this horrible dream, and it was this and it was that, and do you know what it would possibly mean? And by the time I get through having a conversation about what it means, they're like, oh my God, I feel so much better. And I'm done with the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's supposed to be a gift. And when you get a gift, you're supposed to use it to help other people, especially these gifts.
Oh yeah. That's what they were given for. They were given to help people live better lives, successful lives, happier lives, not just, to profit. And grant you, maybe there's a couple of people that use it for profiteer reasons, but, cutting other people down for their talents or gifts or not using, and I know there's a lot that says, well, how do I know you're a successful spiritual worker? I don't see you living the high life. I don't see you, having your Mercedes or Rolls Royce or $1 million mansion. How do I know you're good? It's like, for the poor ones, like some of us, I know I'm struggling there. We do it because we want to have good results for you, because to put this much time and energy and try to keep up the whole friggin' I'm extremely rich and successful, it's tiring.
Okay, I'm confused. What do you what are you expecting from a person? If I have a home, it has four walls. You hear, if I have a TV and, game system, or phones, or I have a refrigerator, I have all the day-to-day things that I need. So
Yes, the
help me understand what it is that I'm supposed to have that I don't have, that you think I should have,
oh
just to
there
prove to you that I'm worth it now.
oh yes, yes. The Mercedes in the driveway, you need to
Never
have
wanted
that.
one.
Yeah,
Never ever wanted one.
okay, fine. So a foreign vehicle worth over $80,000. Let's go with that. you
No.
know, Re- and really lavish kind of like beachside home that's worth about, automatically you can look up on Zillow or
Oh
realestate.com.
yeah.
It's like that the house is worth more than $500,000. $500,000, it's a low end home.
Okay, so if that person, what if that person, like myself,
Mm-hmm.
grew up in the South? So when you say a BMW, Mercedes, whatever high-end car, w- when you say that, that doesn't speak success to me, because I grew up in the South.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, success means a Suburban or a Yukon, or a flatbed truck, a big one. That's what I think of when I think of, wow, that person's doing good for themselves. Or when I think of a home, I don't necessarily think about the 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 homes that we have that are cookie cutter. I tend to think more along the lines of country style farm homes with a lot of land.
Right, right,
So what about those people who, you're looking through this lens that is yours, but
right.
what about that other person's lens? that person lives their life according to their lens.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
And
if I'm living my life according to my lens, and then my life doesn't speak success to you, you're already defining success in one narrow view, when success means so many things.
amen, sister. Amen. Oh, I totally agree with you on that part. I agree because I guess I'm just going to stay with the Americans. Their version of success is what Hollywood is. The big rims, the fancy houses, the servants, and everything else. What the media portrays, that's success. No. And even for me, and it took me a while to even convince my hubby, our success is our happy life. That we are happy with each other. We have a roof over our heads. We have food on the table. Yeah, it might not be, the friggin' fancy cars or the friggin' $500,000 homes, but we have each other and we push and we're successful together. We're building an empire together. I mean,
Right.
that's success to me. Not so much the materialistic stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing that people sometimes they get sidetracked by the all of these things.
Mm-hmm. The
It's
shiny.
the I do a squirrel like everybody else. Like, oh, squirrel, look at that necklace. I do that as much as the next person. But what I need people to remember is that success is so much more than just that.
Mm-hmm.
Success, you could have success if you are in a loving relationship. I can assure you, count that as a success.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many people out here that are not in loving relationships. I've seen so many women who are in and out of domestic violence shelters. They are in and out of abusive situations. They are in and out of drama.
Mm-hmm.
Count yourself successful with that. If you are able to, and not saying that you only want to be able to pay your bills and that's it. When you want more, then speak out like, hey, I'm gonna, I'm gonna get more. I'm going to do more. I'm going to be achieving more. But you
Mm-hmm.
don't have. But what you don't look your gift horse in the mouth either.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a place to lay your head, if you have a place that you can relax in,
Mm-hmm.
then count yourself among the many that are blessed.
Right.
I don't understand why we're looking at it like it's anything less than being blessed.
Yeah.
There's so many things that we could be, you know, worried about. For instance, vaginas and wasp nests. We could be worried
Yes.
about that.
But it's so healthy.
I don't want to. I missed it. I totally missed it. The whole vagina wasp nest thing. I did. I didn't know anything about it until you said something. And then my son said, "Mom, remember I told you the other day that the doctors are saying don't do it." And I'm like, "Why would a doctor need to tell me not to do it? Like, who did it to make this a conversation where women are put?" And then I look online, of course, because at this point you got me intrigued.
Exactly. We got your curiosity going. It's like
Yeah,
you
so I'm
get.
like, oh, what's going on? And there is a full-fledged article, multiple in fact, from Forbes to the Independent in the UK, where and Daily Mail too, where they're telling me not to put a wasp nest in my vagina because it could be dangerous. If you put a ground up wasp nest in your vagina, I would imagine it would be dangerous. I would. I
I'm
would
just.
feel like there's some danger there.
I wouldn't even go near it because A, I don't know if I'm deathly allergic to it because I know B, my husband is deathly allergic. So even if I put that thing there, then he's going to have a reaction. I'm like, no.
Right. And they're called oak galls. That's what they're called. They they um they say that it can be eaten, so
Mm-hmm.
you can ground it up and put it over your oatmeal in the morning. Yeah. Or you could grind it up, get it ground up, and you could insert it. And it's for natural vaginal tightening. It's read that it has anti-inflammatory properties and reduces vaginal discharge. And
Ah!
it can also remove unpleasant odor and itching of female private parts. First, I need us to stop calling them private parts. We're all grown. It's a vagina. So that's first. Second of all, I'm going to need you to stop putting things in your vagina that you get off of eBay, Etsy, or DHgate. That's gonna be the next one. I'm flabbergasted. Why would you put these things in any orifice of your body? I wouldn't put it in my ear. If it told me that it was gonna dry out my ear after swimming, I'm not gonna put it in there. I'm just not.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been studied. There's not a doctor alive that will co-sign on this, at least not in the States. And the ones that are out of the country who may have some information on this, I would love to hear it. I would love to have that information, and at least be able to say, okay, such and such did say that this can do this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
But you're telling me that you're drying up vaginal discharge. A woman's body gives off vaginal discharge for a reason. The body cleans itself.
Yes.
So it does not need a douche. It never did. It does not need your assistance with your ground up washness. If you they came out with this, the yoni eggs and the yoni steam. Okay, now yoni steaming, technically that is older than God knows what. They've been doing herbal steams in Africa for, I think the oldest one I've seen was actually on papyrus.
Okay. That's, yeah, going
So
back. Yeah.
so I'm like, okay, so this is old. This is not new. They do it in different parts of Africa. The process is still the same. They sit over a chair that has an open space, like a almost like a toilet.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bowl, there's a lot of herbs, and after a woman has a baby, they have her sit there over a bowl of steam, and
Mm-hmm.
they steam those herbs in an effort to get the vaginal area to contract. It also helps to cleanse the area. And when they say cleanse, they don't always mean physically cleanse. Sometimes it's a spiritual, like we said, spiritual cleanse. So that's old. The yoni eggs, we've seen everything from those eggs to Benoit balls.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not new either, but the only difference is you've got a lot of different stones, and those stones aren't always healthy for you to stick into your vagina. Now here we are this week, and we're sticking ground up wasp nests into our vagina. That is not going to work. That you are asking for problems.
Oh,
And I know
absolutely.
and I know I've heard women say, "Oh, I use honey. I use honey as a inside my vagina as a lubricant."
That is not a lubricant.
That is
Honey
not
is
a
not.
lubricant.
Wait. Okay. Okay. I take it back. There is a honey lube.
There
So,
is a honey lube, but
yes.
not actual
Well,
wildflower honey that I can get from Winter Park.
no, it's not. So, I just want to clarify before you guys get on your high horse and say, but yes, we know there's
Yes.
a honey lube, which is
Yes.
completely different from a honeycomb and honey from a honeybee at the
Exactly.
supermarket.
Exactly. And the honey, what people often forget is honey has antimicrobial properties. And there is good bacteria in your vagina that you don't want to kill off. You don't want to kill it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you have an IUD, like so many women do, you don't want to use honey for fear that it will interfere with that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to think about this before we do these things. Yes, these things are healthy. These things are natural. The honey is very healthy. It's very natural. Honey is wonderful for a lot of different things,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not wonderful for everything. I don't want to, if I want, well, I've heard everything. Charcoal douching. I've heard um, uh, uh, taking the charcoal and actually inserting the tablets inside you and allowing them to dissolve so that it can pull away the any bacteria in the vagina.
Right.
Okay, that that sounds wrong. There's a lot going on in that whole experience. I understand, you want to keep it clean and smelling great. Take a shower.
Yeah. Take a shower. It
Take a
takes.
shower. Eat lots of fruit.
Mm-hmm.
You want to taste and be sweet there in that place, then eat lots of fruit.
Yeah.
But to take these things, we're back to the Kegel exercises at every traffic light.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm going to stay. If you want that area after
Mm-hmm.
you have a child, or if you feel like you've had too many partners and it's not as tight as it once was, then you may want to do actual Kegels at every single traffic light.
Mm-hmm. And that's
Because
natural. That's your
otherwise,
body, and that's it.
absolutely, absolutely, the it's not this is not practical, and it's a fad, and fads inside of your vagina don't usually go well.
Mm-mm.
So that's, discharge, we want it to stop the discharge, but what if the discharge is like a sign of an underlying medical condition?
Mm-hmm.
So then what do you do? Because let's look at a wasp nest. Let's be clear, that does it has some solidifying properties.
Mm-hmm.
So who's saying that this is not mixing with your discharge and actually creating a barrier, like where your vagina actually cannot self clean
Oh,
itself in.
yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So now you're back to getting ablations again.
Mm-hmm.
No, that doesn't make sense.
I know. I know. Gotta love it. Nothing makes sense. That's why we're here to try to make sense, to give people common sense again. I think there should be a course in college, Common Sense 101.
Oh, which implies there's a 201.
And the 301 too, because you gotta realize you gotta do the basic common sense, like manners. Oh my god. I posted an
Exactly.
article on my other Facebook page, and I should have, like, been very conscious with the millennials and their whole, you know, going off on it, that I got so emotionally drained because of one freaking line. It was 21 lost lady traditions, like how to act like a lady.
Yes, I saw that. I
Did
saw
you
that.
see the
And
conversation that went through?
no. I missed there was a conversation.
Oh my God. It was very.
Oh,
Yes, because they got so offended and they rolled their eyes because number 21, the last one, is that the man pays for the bill. And they were all upset, and this was, this doesn't apply to today. What happens if you're a woman and woman dating, or a man and a man? And so I made the mistake of using top and bottom in a psychological manner of dating, and oh, that went into a whole different, well, you just offended because that's offensive word in non-binary people. And I'm like, say what?
what non-binary? What?
Oh,
So, okay. So
uh-huh.
you're telling me that asking um asking a woman to I'm trying to remember one that I saw that really made sense to me because these are traditions that these are things that I grew up with anyway. It wasn't that deep to read them and be like, "Oh yeah, I remember that."
Oh yeah, yeah.
Um,
Bringing a gift
if a
to.
man, okay, if a man remains standing while you're seated, first of all, that's polite.
Mhm.
That's just polite. If a woman gets up, usually the gentleman will stand and wait for her to either come back, stand up and wait, and then he'll wait for her to be seated, and then
Mhm.
he'll sit down. That's simply being polite. What the problem is, you don't recognize what being polite looks like. That's the damn problem.
Oh yeah.
Uh, Rude, shocking language. I can curse like a sailor, but if I'm on a date, I try to keep that at bay.
Mhm.
That's
Oh.
just the reality. Don't talk with your mouth full. Who the hell needs to explain this? Who needs that explanation? Were you raised in a barn?
Mhm.
That's usually the conversation that your parents will have with you. Close your mouth. You were not raised in a barn. Dress tastefully, please. Let's dress for the moment. My mother worked for a department store when I was a kid named Parisian.
Mhm.
That store was pretty much like Rich's used to be, or Macy's, if you
Okay.
remember. So this department store, I remember it having lingerie. I
Mhm.
remember it having ladies ready to wear, business attire. This was the departments within the store.
Mhm.
They had different departments because different things required different styles of dress.
Exactly. What happened to those days? Sorry. Let me get off my soapbox.
No, this isn't a soapbox. This is reality. This is, people don't like the idea of it being reality. I'm not saying you're dressing like a slut or with a short dress. That's not what I'm saying. I
Mhm.
love short dresses. I think that they're very attractive. I think women who can pull them off, they look great. But if you're going to, say, a five-star restaurant,
Mhm.
and that restaurant is known to have affluential individuals there, and perhaps you want to stand out in a good way, then you dress uniquely. You don't dress like you're going to
A
a
club.
club. You want to dress appropriately for the place that you're going to. So if this place, this, you've looked online, you checked out the pictures, you saw some people on Yelp, you saw how they were, presenting themselves, you say, okay, this is not the place for that.
Right.
This is the place where I wear, a nice button down and a pair of slacks, or this is the place where I wear a nice dress and a shawl, or a nice dress that may have a hint, a little bit of cleavage, but I'm not just laying all out on the table, boobs hanging.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know, dressing tasteful, that's a good idea. What's wrong with that?
Mhm.
This list that you posted is actually pretty damn normal. I understand now that it's, people look at it and say, "Oh my God, it's so old fashioned." but it actually is just a list of normal behavior.
Oh yeah, and the conversations in the comments, they were just so uppity, so that I just turned around and I'm like, okay, how would you change this? Because apparently I offended for it not to be gender inclusive, and I kid you not, I think I shut down the conversation right there, because then it was at the point that it was, oh, well, yeah, this and this, yeah, yeah, this makes sense. For just the man paying the bill, number 21, it went into a huge uproar. It went into a huge uproar because I said top and bottom. It went into a huge uproar that it turned around that 21 could be twisted to be rape. Because, oh, I was entitled because I paid for it. That is the rape culture. I'm like, are
What?
you? Yeah, oh, yeah. It got that dark. It got that dark.
Entitled because of rape culture?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like who? uh, See, this is that's why I stay to myself.
Yes,
I'm like, I don't get these. I don't get it when you're digging so there is a such thing as twisting something to such a degree to make it what you want it to be, when in reality it is nothing like that. The
no.
reality of a situation is different to how you are perceiving it in your mind with your biases.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you
Oh, yeah.
remove all your biases, then you look at a situation, you would see that, okay, nah, she didn't mean it like that. It was just, hey, this is a series of things that apply. Don't always try, if you're saying, how does this apply to gay men, or how does this apply to gay women, then how does this apply to gay men or lesbians? Then guess what? Don't apply it as best as you see fit.
Yep. Yep.
Don't that's how I would have done it. I would say, you know what? I am going to apply this as best as I can. If I made the move towards her,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm going to apply this as if I was the guy,
Right.
because I'm making all the moves to her. I'm trying to pull her to me. So I'm going to make all the gestures. This is not I didn't realize it was argue worthy.
Yeah. I didn't realize either. I did not know that. I was like, give me a break here. Like, seriously? How can you come up with some of this crazy nonsense? I mean, it was absolutely insane, to say the least. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I'm looking at some of the comments. I'm like, this is a little over the top.
oh, extremely over the top. Extremely.
That, yeah, it's a little more than necessary. It really is. It's a little extra.
Yeah.
And that's okay for that person to be, if they're extra, hey, go with it. But this is really just more about how to treat each other when you are dating. I read
Mm-hmm.
this matter of fact, I read this list off to my husband, and he was like, "This list is unisex, technically."
Yeah.
That was the first thing he said. I read them all off, and he said, "Wow." He said, "That's a good list. It's actually unisex. It applies to both male and female."
Yep. But apparently, as you can read the comments, it didn't.
Wow.
Oh yeah, yeah. I kind of lost my shit there. I'm like, you know what? Here's a couple of participation trophies just to make you happy, because that's what makes everyone happy. Participation trophies.
Me and my son were talking about that this morning. It's like, they give people the most improved student award at the end of a year, like,
Mm-hmm.
when you're going forward to the next grade, they'll give somebody most improved student.
Right.
And but they give the students who, because he graduated this year, they'll give the students who made B's for the last 4 years nothing. And I'm like, because that person, they expect you to keep doing what you're doing. This person, they're just trying to keep them in the game.
Right.
That's what it amounts to. We're just trying to keep you here. So if we can, encourage you and keep you here, then hey, it works out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what it amounts to.
So on that note, how can people reach you?
You can reach me on Facebook, Instagram, as African Crystal Goddess. My Etsy store is African Crystal Goddess, Godis.
And you,
But the other ones are spelled like normal.
nor what is normal nowadays? I mean, after this conversation today.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm losing myself here.
And you can find me everywhere at Miss Angelique Luna. So have a good weekend, guys. Take care.
Have a good one.
Bye.